All right, today on the grid, we're talking about the national park system, and we're going to have some guests joining us today, and we got Richard Bernabe joining us as well, one of the guys who's been doing a lot of our national park classes over here in KelbyOne, and it all starts in about 13.4 seconds.
The Grid is brought to you by Platypod, the tripod alternative that is changing the world. Everybody has a Platypod. You should too. Go to platypod.com.
Well, hey everybody, look at that. So there's Jason. Jason's out of the control room, so watch out. So we got Jason and Christina joining us here in the studio. They just came back from a trip over. You guys were in Yellowstone, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Yellowstone.
Amazing
So we're going to be
trip.
talking about all about the national parks system, especially the U.S. national park system. A lot of people don't know. We are kind of like the OGs when it comes to national parks. Like, we were the people in the world who kind of like founded the idea of let's have protected national parks. Yellowstone being the first one. The
That's
Yellowstone Act that was signed in with Ulysses S. Grant way back in the 1800s, signed in this act that protected that land. And from that moment, national parks have grown and grown in the U.S., but now all over the world. So because of that, just that small little act, we've got all these protected lands. And that was the whole thing about the topic today. These are photographer playgrounds, I believe. You know, I am an advocate for the national parks. I think they're amazing, not only for family vacations and just exploring and all that, but for photographers specifically, it's a playground.
Absolutely.
Because, I mean, you're in these, like, just natural state wonders that, because of these acts, were developed to the point at which we could at least navigate them. You know, because a lot of these areas you can't navigate unless you have simple roads or simple paths or simple stuff.
Right.
And all that being developed, all again starting in 1872, I believe. You know, that kind of snowballed into all that. So we're going to be talking about that today, and I'm really excited. But before we get to that, we got a bunch of housekeeping stuff. You know, Scott's out. He's over at the B&H, the Build conference up in New York. He was talking to me the other day. Is packed. Like, he was showing me like some stuff.
Yeah.
He was actually FaceTiming with me, and it is just packed. So really cool to see. It's awesome to see like a trade show being back at that level.
Yes,
you know, because it's
absolutely.
been a long time since it's been back at that level. But at the same time, B&H is the perfect person to do that. Like, they're just the perfect company to do that.
Yeah.
So really excited about that. So we got giveaways. What are we giving away today? So maybe Jason, if you want to take it away, what are we giving away today on the show?
Crush the Composition book by Scott Kelby.
Oh, we're giving away that, and you can get that over on Amazon.com, but somebody's going to win it today. What else are we giving away?
The Landscape Photography book.
Yeah, where can you get that, Jason? Over on Amazon. Somebody's going to win it today as
What are
well.
you? I was like, we're giving it away.
Is it
Yeah,
a
we're
trick
giving
question?
away.
Yeah, it was a trick
Yeah.
question.
And we're giving away.
And
Christina, you go.
Eric's new book, The Night Photography. We're giving an ebook copy away. It's been doing so well. I think it was like #1 in that category, right, Eric?
Yeah, for a little bit.
So
yeah.
congrats. Everyone's super excited about that book.
Yeah, very excited about that one. So definitely want to check that out. Then we're going to be giving away a Platypod handle from Platypod. So this is a great attachment for your Platypod, being able to raise it off just a little bit off of your Platypod or a tripod, whatever you want to do. It's also makes a great lightsaber alternative. And then we were giving away something else, but that went off the screen. But I know we're giving away a copy of On One No Noise.
That's
I
right.
didn't know that without
We know that.
because we're always giving away a copy of On One No Noise. Great plug-in
It
for
just
removing
wipes
noise.
the noise right away.
Yep.
Look at that, wipe it away.
Yeah, wipe it away. There we go.
And then the other
And then
thing
we had a
is a
kernel
V
panic
flat.
over here.
We always give away a V flat too.
Yep.
So V flat, we'll give one away today to someone that is in the U.S. We can only ship it to a U.S. address. So
Because it is big.
be sure that you drop
It's big,
what
but
you
it's
want
not
in the
that
chat.
big.
Right.
That's what's so
You
cool
can-
about it.
Condense
Yeah.
it to a car.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you want one of these prizes, please do leave a comment in the chat for us. Let us know what you'd like to win, and we'll announce our winners towards the end of the show.
Awesome. It looks like we got people joining us all over the world. We got Belinda saying hi from a muddy Oklahoma. This must be raining up there. And then James saying hi from Phoenix, Susan saying hi to the grid, Sharon saying hi from Iowa, Tina saying hi from Oregon, another Susan saying hi, Barbara saying hi from California, Graham saying hi from all the way from Malta. So we got all over the world people joining us. And we're going to be talking about the national parks, right? So
Yep.
that's what we really want to talk about today. We've been doing over at KelbyOne, one of the things that we've been doing is these national park series classes, right? Where we're going to a national park and really diving into where's the best places to shoot, where's the best times to shoot, how to navigate the park, and then tips and tricks along the way to making the most out of the national parks. And I just thought that would be a good thing to talk about this, especially leading into summer. I know so many people are going to the national parks. In fact, I'm leaving this weekend to go to one national park and one national seashore because one, my family hasn't been to one of the national parks that we're going to, which actually Richard, who's going to be on in a second, did a class on that. We're going to the Smoky Mountains.
Nice.
I've been, as a photographer, that's one of the things is we tend to go to these places, but my family hasn't. So we're going to go over there and check that out.
Love it.
I got a whole class of resources right there from Richard on
Yes.
where to go, right? And then you can see all the different parks that we're doing. So we're kind of building that out to where there's so many beautiful parks in the national park system here in the U.S. To feature. And you guys just came back from Yellowstone, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
How was that?
It was amazing. I had never been to Yellowstone. I had no idea what to expect. And, of course, Richard had been so many times and knew exactly where to go, what to do. And it was like having our own little personal guide showing us the park for the first time. But, it was 5 long days. We actually did 2 classes. One was for the national parks, and the other one is a wildlife class that we also filmed while we were there. So
nice.
both classes are going to be fantastic. But it was really just a wonderful time. Richard did an amazing job. And, but with that said, even though, I was telling Eric this earlier, I was like, even though you see all these really cool pictures and everything looks so cool, it's just a lot of work. And so we'll get into that later too, and when to shoot certain things. But it sure was.
Yeah, I think Yellowstone for me, because I've done a few of them now, but this was the most diverse as far as the wildlife and the landscapes, and
I
to
agree.
see the geysers and everything, which I've never seen before. So that was really, really cool, and it was confusing me at first. I'm like, should we be walking on this? Because it's coming up everywhere.
Well, that's why you're on those paths, though, and that's
Right.
what's great
Yep.
about National Park. Again,
Yes.
having those paths to walk over those pots, bubbling
Yeah.
water that
Yes.
you're like, I should not be walking over this. Like,
Right.
it's bubbling underneath me.
Right.
But that's why I definitely agree with Yellowstone. Yellowstone's one, if not my favorite, one of my top favorites, because of that diversity you talk about. Landscape, wildlife, geothermal. I love it for night photography as well. Just so many aspects about that park. And then right down the road's the Tetons, which is another one.
Right,
that's a
we
big
were
bonus.
thinking about it, but we had
If
so
we
much
had
to
time,
I
we
know.
would have.
Yeah, it was-
But it's one of those where it's right down the street.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, not right down the street, but it's down the street.
Yeah.
And that's what's so cool about that area. But that's really, again, getting back to understanding, that was the original national park.
Yep.
And then we kind of developed a few more. Like I said, it really came up with Yosemite, getting the national parks protected. And now we've grown to where there's 63 national parks, always national parks being added as well. And we have all these national monuments, national seashores, national landmarks that I believe it's almost 500 that you can go to throughout the U.S. So they're all over the place. So that's what's really cool about it, is having that available. And what I love about it is it really is one of those things that is so American, because it was protected and made, it was made to be protected for the people.
Yes.
In fact, when you go into Yellowstone, what does it say? For the enjoyment of, I forget the exact thing, but anyways, the enjoyment of people, basically. I forget what it says, but it was all about giving land, having land for the people to enjoy.
Right,
you
and
know,
to
that's
preserve
what's
it,
so
because
cool
we
about
saw,
it.
like the rangers in all the parks, like they protect the wildlife there. Like if there was a bear, they'd be around to make sure the people wouldn't get too close. And even walking on parts of the grass and stuff you shouldn't be walking on.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, it's really awesome. So anyways, we do have joining us, I think, via Skype now, Richard. Richard, you there?
I am here. Thank you, guys.
Hey, how's it going? So you guys just came back from Yellowstone. How was that?
I think we had an amazing trip. As you guys were mentioning, it's so diverse, and you have landscapes, you've got geothermal activity, you've got wildlife. Pretty much everything that you want as an outdoor photography is there. Look at that. Look at that. Guys are going off.
Yeah.
So, and we just hit everything right. We were blessed with great weather, great conditions. We saw I think we saw every type of wildlife. We even saw wolves, we saw grizzlies, we saw black bears, and all the normal ones. But even the ones that are sometimes hard to see, like wolves and a grizzly, we saw several grizzlies. So we saw it all. We had
We
it all.
saw a
And
moose.
great weather and great light. We were blessed.
So you guys saw a moose?
Yeah, we saw
Yeah.
a moose
Yep.
too.
We saw a moose. Yeah.
Awesome. Very cool. So, speaking of that, talking just about the national parks in general, what, really at the end of the day, what makes you, Richard, what makes you love the national park system?
Yeah, well, they didn't set aside and give ugly places national park designation. So just
Yes.
by virtue of being a national park, you're expecting something extraordinary. So that's number one. And number two is, there are some very spectacular places that are designated wilderness areas in North America, up in Alaska, in the lower 48, but they're difficult to get to. Some of the places you have to hike several days to get to where you want to, have a great image, a great shot. But the national parks, not only is it preserved in continuity for forever and ever and ever, but the infrastructure was created in a way so that it's accessible to everyone, regardless of how well they get around and their ability to hike. So many of the places that we went to during our Yellowstone trip was you get out and park. You might have a 5-minute walk on a very even trail or a walkway, and it's accessible to everyone. It's easy for us photographers to just show up and get the shot. So between those two things, just the preservation of extraordinary places and accessibility, those two things make national parks very, very special.
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%. And that's what I think so cool about it is because there are amazing places that aren't in the national parks like you talk about, but they're just so hard to get to. And that's where the national park system makes it accessible to so many people. And that's where I love seeing some of the newer national parks that come up and pop up. In fact, last summer we were going through Colorado, and I got a chance to go to the Black Canyon of the Gunnison. I've never been to that one. It was a lot of times what happens is they become national landmarks, they become something like that before they become a national park. But just going there and you see this place and it's you wouldn't expect this beautiful place to be sitting off the side of, next to a town, and it's just amazing. And in fact, that park I think was just as impressive, if not more impressive than going to the Grand Canyon and seeing the Grand Canyon. It was beautiful. But without having that accessibility that you have there, you would never get there. You'd have to helicopter in, there's no way. It's just so hard to get to. So that's a good point. So I have a question, and that's what I wanted to kind of center this around, kind of asking questions, kind of navigating us through. So the question for the group here. So I'll start out with you, Richard. What was the first national park you ever photographed? And get your opinion on that.
Okay, so that's pretty easy. That's the Great Smoky Mountains National Park.
Okay.
Because it's kind of my backyard. And so not only is it the first one I photographed, but that's where I kind of honed my craft. That's where I went on weekends. When I still had a day job, I went on weekends. When I had time off, I would go there to do most of my photography there in the Blue Ridge Parkway, which is part of the national park system, but not a national park. But the Great Smoky Mountains is one that I've been going to for almost 30 years. I kind of know it like the back of my hand, and it's the first one where I really did serious photography, not just, snapshots as a child going to, national parks with your parents.
Well, there you go. And that kind of like, I had a follow-up there, but you answered the follow-up, which was, did it change the way you shoot, going there? But it sounded like that's exactly what it did, right?
Yeah, because at least here in the East, in places like the Great Smoky National Park, you don't have those big wide vistas like you do out west. It's more enclosed. You have forest, trees, and you really have to kind of work for your compositions a lot harder than you do like when you go to Tetons, where everybody's shooting the same shots. You got the mountain range, the obvious, subject, and you just find different ways of maybe counterposing the mountains to a tree or something, or a reflection, or but in the Smoky Mountains, there are a couple iconic shots, but a lot of the best shots are you working the scene. And that's how I learned, and that's kind of served me well in doing other type of landscapes.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. What about you two? Is there any national park that you photographed, or, I know with you, videoed? You were like, that was my first one that I ever did, and that left an impression on me.
The first one I think was for us was the Badlands.
Okay.
And that was kind of like what you were saying earlier, like there's a lot of nothing, and all of a sudden it opens up to this crazy landscape.
And you're like, where does this come from?
So I would never thought that was, driving out there, that I would seen any of that.
Yeah.
Because it's just flat, and then all of a sudden it just opens up to this crazy landscapes.
Yeah. Almost looks like another planet.
Yeah.
Right.
So I enjoyed that a lot.
What was your first experience?
Well, I did go to national parks and stuff as a kid with my parents, but the first one I did for KelbyOne that sticks with me was Zion.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And so I had never really been in that type of landscape. I've always been in the mountains with water and trees, and so it was different to see these rocks balancing and different.
Oh, yeah.
A different type of landscape than I was used to, and
Definitely.
not being in the desert. It was I remember, because you're so much, and being up high or closer to the sun. So even though we live in Florida and we're used to hot weather, it was a different type of hot and
Oh,
heat.
yeah,
I was
definitely.
getting these sun headaches.
Yes. When you get the dry, it's just that dry heat too. Yeah. Yeah, I think mine is the same as kind of Richard's, is you kind of experience the area that you're from when you're younger. My first experience was in the Everglades. Why? Because it's right here. I'm in Florida. But it was cool to see that vastness. There's beautiful parts of the Everglades. You kind of got to get a little lost, but it's beautiful down there. But then once I started traveling outside of that, I realized, wow, there's even more beautiful things.
Yeah.
And then you start, then you get that bug. And I think that's the bug I have, is I want to see the other beautiful things. So
Yep.
then I'm like, well, which one are we going to now? Which one are we going to now? What's our next one? And that's where it becomes like that bug for me, at least for me.
Absolutely.
So we have to take a break. And when we come back, I want to ask some more questions here, and then we've got some questions that are coming in, so we'll answer your questions as well. And we'll be back talking about the national park system. And there's Jason doing his thing.
Are you ready to capture the world and master your photography? On One's photo editing gurus have joined forces with KelbyOne's photography training experts to show you the way. These world traveling pros and masters teach their secrets at the On One Travel Photography Conference. Get their best tips for shooting smarter and editing like a pro using On One's cutting-edge tools. Why join? It's live, interactive, and packed with actionable advice for all skill levels. No travel needed. You get full access to all sessions for a year. Yes, you heard that right. You can revisit and study every lesson for a year. This will transform your travel photography forever. Sign up now and capture the world like never before.
Hi, I'm Richard Bernabe, and welcome to the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. I'm excited to show you some of my favorite places, including Cades Cove, Klingman's Dome, the Foothills Parkway, sunrises, sunsets, rivers, waterfalls, all my favorite places, how I shoot them, and some of my favorite techniques. So come join me on my latest KelbyOne class.
Hey everyone, I am nature photographer Ian Plant, and this video is part of KELBY's National Park series. And I travel the world looking for the most amazing places to photograph. And I've seen a lot of dramatic and epic landscapes. And people often ask me, Ian, where's your favorite place in the world to photograph? And they're often surprised that my answer is Badlands National Park in South Dakota. I love the Badlands. And it's ironic because this is a place that often gets overlooked by other serious landscape photographers. But I think it's one of the best places in the world to practice landscape photography. It's an amazing place. There are so many colors and textures and patterns in the landscape here. And during the summer thunderstorm season, you get the most epic sunrise and sunset skies imaginable. And in this video, I'm going to share some of my favorite Badlands shooting locations, like the Big Badlands Overlook, or the Door Trail, or Panorama Point, or my personal favorite, Bigfoot Pass. So join me on this amazing Badlands photo adventure, only available at KelbyOne.com.
Badlands, Badlands, Badlands.
This segment of The Grid is brought to you by Canon.
All right, we're back. There's Jason again. All right, so we got Amy saying a couple comments here. We got Amy saying my bucket list is to go to every national park. Mine as well. I'm past halfway.
Yeah, I'm
so,
hooked now.
So trying to get there. We'll see. Claudia's saying just saw Moose's class in Yosemite. It was great. I want to go. It is free to go there, and when.
No, is it free?
Oh, is it free? Is it free? No, it's not free, but it's very affordable.
Mm-hmm.
I'll put it that way. You can get a national parks pass, especially if you're going to multiple parks. That's what I do. Also, if you are in the military, you can get a military pass, or been in the military, you can get a military pass for free. So you can do that. Also, is it 4th grade or 5th grade? If you have a 4th grader or 5th grader, I'd have to look this up, but there's an age at which you can get a national park pass because they're in that grade for free for the entire year.
Oh, that's
For
cool.
your family. So that's another way. And then there's also a senior pass that
Yep.
helps on the discount. But I mean, I'm talking, so a national park pass is about $80 for the year to go to every
Yep,
national
that's
park,
right.
as many as you want, blah, blah, blah.
And it'll include 4 people. So if you buy
Up to 4
one,
people, yeah.
then everyone in your car up to
Yes,
4 people
up to
is
4
good to
people.
go.
So there's that. There's also, you can buy day passes, which, I mean, the thing is, if you're going to go for multiple days, you might as well buy the annual pass. But, you know, because some parks are like $25, $35.
Yeah, and I would recommend doing it in advance too. Before you go, you
Yes.
can buy it online. There's different places you
Yep.
can pick it up, or they'll mail it to you.
Yes, so there's that.
And she's wanting to
then
know, where do you fly into?
Yosemite. So we've got Sacramento. You could go from San Francisco. There's some places that are kind of close to it.
Where did I fly you guys into? Do you remember, Jason?
I don't.
I want to say Vegas, maybe?
No, that'd be too far.
It was,
No,
You could go
it
to
wasn't.
Vegas. You're
No,
just gonna
no,
be
no.
road
That
tripping.
was when I went.
If you're gonna go through Vegas, go up through Sequoia and do that, and like make a venture out of it. So,
I don't remember.
but yeah, I mean, you got Sacramento and San Francisco. I would think are pretty close. I don't have any others.
Fresno.
Fresno is the other one.
Nice.
Fresno's probably the closest.
Yeah.
That's the city you can see from there. So there
Well,
you go,
another thing
Fresno.
too, I don't know, maybe Eric was going to bring this up to talk about, but one of the things I have noticed just by doing these parks, since we've done so many now, the closer you can stay to the entrance, the better, because typically you're going to have some driving to do to get where you want to go, and so definitely location where you stay
Yes,
is
location's
something
important.
that I would look into and make sure you get something close to the entrance.
Yes, but just know the premium you pay when you're in the park, right? There will be lodges inside the park. You're going to pay a premium for those lodges.
Oh yeah.
Of course, that's why I love campgrounds, because campgrounds are affordable and they're inside the park.
And if you're in the park, like I guess most parks, can you stay overnight? Like, or if
Most of them, yes. Most
like
of
you
them
can enter or exit as like if you're not staying inside. Some of them it helps if you stay inside, because then if you did want to do night photography.
Yes, if there's night photography involved, yes,
Mm-hmm.
you're right. But otherwise, like we talked about, like Yellowstone, you can drive in anytime. Arches, you can anytime. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you can go whenever you want. So come and go as you please. All right. So I got a question, or let's see if we got any. What do we got? Any other comments here? Somebody saying working a way through the national parks. Dave saying I love the Smoky Mountains. Bobby saying she agrees with the Tetons. Zion definitely a favorite. Yosemite and Death Valley are up there. Totally agree. Tetons is awesome. Dwight's saying agrees with Yellowstone being so diverse. Amy saying I went on a snowmobile tour in Yellowstone. That was awesome. I'm sure it
Fun.
was.
Oh, yeah.
That sounds
I like
amazing.
snowmobiling.
That sounds fun.
Marianne saying during a family camp trip out west, I took a picture of the Grand Canyon in 1957. Still has it, and took the picture, still have a black and white, and took it as a kid, and just makes me happy. Yeah. Well, what's great about it too, Marianne, is you could probably go to the same place that you were, and probably take that same picture, and it will look similar. It's going to have some erosion, you know, natural erosion, but it's going to look very similar. And then Allison saying, "Love your bear T-shirt, Jason."
Let's
Oh,
see it.
yeah. Montana.
Here we go. So Richard, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
What park has surprised you photographically? You know, you've been to a lot of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, not the obvious ones, but what's a park that just kind of like surprised you?
Well, the first time with the Death Valley, it surprised me because I wasn't expecting much. I even wondered, having not been there, why they even made a place like Death Valley a national park to begin with. Who would want to go to a place named Death Valley? But after being there and spending some time, I've been there at least 20 times now, so I understand it. But it took 2 or 3 trips to really, quote unquote, get it. How graphic it is, and how empty, and how many unique features are there, that now it's probably my top 5. But
Yes.
that was a surprise, and it took me some time to really understand it and get it, and how valuable and what a good park it is for photographers. Now, if you were not a photographer, I could see why maybe it's not your favorite, but as a photographer, I think it's fantastic.
I 100% agree. I did a class on it.
Yeah,
at
I agree
KelbyOne,
too.
so
Yep.
I totally agree.
I was there with Eric,
but
but
I
yeah.
I was. That's always a park that it surprised me as
Yeah.
well, because you again, to the point Richard talked about, you would not expect a place called Death Valley to be so beautiful.
Right,
you
because
know?
we had the one morning it looked like almost Badlands with the rocks,
yeah.
but then we had the salt flat, or
Yeah.
the basin,
Yeah.
and then
And then you had the dunes. You
the
have
dunes. That was so.
And then
yes,
you have the
a
canyons.
lot of differences. Yeah.
And then you have the arches.
Yep.
There's so many different things.
Yeah.
And then the overlooks. And then if you're a Star Wars fan, it's absolutely the best park ever, because
Yep.
it's like half of the Episode 4, and you know, basically if they're on Tatooine, they're in
Yep.
Death Valley. So there you go. Awesome. So what about have you guys been in any parks that have like kind of like just thrown you for a loop, where you've been like, wow, I wasn't expecting that?
For me, the Yosemite really blew me away. That it was just, I loved California, just the feel of California.
Yeah.
The weather, and seeing the rock climbers, and that blew me away, because there's nothing about, because I went into the rock climbing store and I listened to a whole bunch of people talk about it. There's nothing about it that made me want to go, oh, I'll try that. But it was cool watching them go up the side of the cliff, and knowing that they're going up for 3 to 4 days with their food and everything.
There you go. Yeah, that is wild.
Yeah.
It is wild, especially see them at night. Were you there at
No,
night?
I didn't see them at night.
You I see them camping on the side of the mountain.
Oh, wow.
And we're climbing at the side of the mountain. You see them in time lapses that I'll do. They're like climbing up, and you can see their
that's cool,
headlamps.
yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
No, not for me. Not for me. And I was like, better you than me. How about you, Christina? Any of the?
I mean, I just loved Yellowstone. I didn't,
Yeah.
because I didn't know what to expect. It was just so, breathtaking, and with all the animals there, I would say out of all the ones that I've been to, that's my favorite so far.
I'll tell you one that surprised me. I went to a few years ago for the first time. It totally threw me a curve. Was Big Bend National Park in Texas. I was not expecting. I was not expecting what came out of that park. It was so diverse, kind of like one of those where it felt like to me like one park that kind of had a little bit of aspects of a bunch of Southwest parks all in one. So it's right on the Rio Grande, out in the middle of nowhere, which is why the reason I think a lot of people don't get to it, because it is very hard to get to. But when you go there, it's like, wow, there's the Rio Grande cut through a canyon there, or there's like a volcanic activity area where it's like, there's balanced rocks and there's arches and there's old buildings and dwellings, kind of amongst the rocks. Like there's just so many diverse things that you would not expect that out in the middle of nowhere, and it just kind of pops up out of the middle of nowhere. So that one definitely shocked me. So a follow-up to that. So, Richard, when we're planning to go to these national parks, what's kind of your approach when you say you were going to a national park? You're new to the system. You're kind of like going to a national park. Like, what's your approach for planning to go to a national park?
So I will do a lot of research before I go out. If it's a place I've never been before, if it's a park I've not been before, and I've been to most of them in the lower 48, and I can almost brag that I've been to all of them in the lower 48, except I keep adding new ones. So
Yep.
there's some really exotic ones up in Alaska that are difficult to get to, but I was pretty close to going to all of them. But if I were to go to one for the first time, I would do a lot of research on what to expect. I personally don't like to study other people's photographs from these places, but I will get a general lay of the land, what it looks like, what to expect. I may make a very vague shot list of places that I want to go visit, and then obviously you want to choose the right time of year for the park. Some are four-season parks, and some are not. And then I will look at the different light, maybe go to ephemeris, look at where certain locations may be better for different types of light, where the sun's going to be, how the light's going to fall on the land, and that sort of thing. So I will do a lot of research before I go, so I'm not wasting a lot of time when I get there. I think that would be the biggest prepping or planning that I would do. But once I get there, I like to keep an open mind and not try to create any. I want to stay focused on my emotional reaction to a place and kind of let that be the emotional core around which I build images. So I don't want to plan too much, and I certainly don't want to look at other people's images and be influenced by them.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I kind of do very similar. I want to know. I do want to know the lay of the land of where I can and can't, where I will be able to go and where I will not be able to go without a lot of effort. Just to figure out, like, am I going to need to put in the effort? What I find great for this is we have a tool nowadays between Google Earth and Google Maps where we can get so much information before we even leave our home on a location. Other people's trail apps are another great thing with the national parks, being able to see people do tours of the trail, so you can see as you're walking through. I found shots, I've seen, like, it's their low res 360 photo, but I'm going, wow, there's an amazing shot there that I've never seen. But now I know, well, if I stick to that trail and I go to this point, like, that scene is going to be there. So I'm kind of setting myself up for success. And that's where a lot of times when I'm doing a lot of that planning, is just trying to figure out, like, again, where can I go? Where can't I go? What's going to take some effort? What's going to take some planning? And then, like Richard was talking about, like what time of year am I going to go? What's the conditions going to be? What's the weather going to be like? All these things are very important to me when I'm planning to be prepared, because a lot of times we don't want to be going. And I've seen some questions talking about that. We're talking about Sharon has a question here asking, do you all get to enter the park, or do you enter the park early to avoid people? Absolutely is my answer to that.
100%.
Because I'm always planning around, I want to be there before the crowds and with the beautiful light, or after the crowds leave, which I found this amazing thing that the minute the sun sets, that's like a cue for everybody to go.
Right.
But there's that couple hours, especially in the summer, where once the sun sets, we still have beautiful light and the parks just empty out. It's also when wildlife is always active in that sunrise and sunset area, so planning around that and making sure that you're in the parks early and staying late and avoiding that middle of the day crowd is my biggest tip for photographers. And what's great about that is that's my biggest tip for anybody who's even a tourist traveling.
100%.
We operate like that when we travel to national parks. We specifically avoid the middle of the day because, one, it's not going to look as beautiful as if we went there at sunrise or sunset.
Right.
So we like to see beautiful things, so I want to go when it's beautiful, even if it's not my camera, if it's just my own eyes and I'm absorbing the environment. But at the end of the day, that's what we want to do. So Richard, how do you feel about that? Like, when do you kind of plan to get to the park, and how do you what's the best times?
Well, I think you said it all, Eric.
Yeah.
The mornings are magical, and just looking back at our Yellowstone trip, every single morning we were met with just magical light and no one else around for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
And not only do you have that good light and you have less crowds, but when we photograph, for example, the geyser basins, Upper Basin, the Midway Geyser Basin, and Mammoth Hot Springs, because it got cool at night. I mean, in the mornings we had mid-30s as far as temperatures, and that steam is exaggerated because the temperature variance between the hot steam and the cold air, they were just magical. They were just pure magic at that time of day. So I told Jason and Christina that, when we go through the geyser basins, we want to be there first thing, because you just get that really crisp, cool air and that hot steam, and it's just, and then when you get the light going through that stuff, it's just magic. So you're planning not only to get the good light early in the morning and try to avoid all the tourists, but certain scenes, you're going to get better conditions at different times of day as well. And the warmer it gets, the less of that steam you'll get, because then the variance between the temperatures are closer together.
Well, yeah, and you were talking about the Smoky Mountains. The Smoky Mountains have little weather ecosystems that are better at certain times, right?
Absolutely, yeah. You get that fog in the valleys.
Yep, I remember that.
We had that a few times, Jason, when we were there. Particularly, you have a body of water, because that body of water will be warmer, then you get that cool air at night, and then you create that fog, and that just creates another dimension. And then when you shoot those layers of mountains, that fog helps create separation between those layers, and then you get the light, and then it's magical.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, we would definitely get up at 4 a.m. pretty much 3:30. Sometimes I'd wake up at 3:30 to get ready to leave at 4 a.m.
Yep.
But every morning we were out at these geysers, and we were the only ones.
Yeah, you were. I know.
Yeah,
I've been there.
It was like
Mammoth
the
Springs,
perfect.
We were literally the only ones, and we were like, how do we have this whole place to ourselves? Like, it was insane.
Jason and Christina, what do we do during the middle of the day?
Sleeping.
Have a nap.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what's so cool about this, is like that if you can just flip your mind on that, and I've got my wife and daughter flipped.
Oh.
They're 100% flipped. Like, they're not morning people, but they realize if we're going to Yellowstone and we get up at 3:30 and we go out, we will be that. We will be out like how are we here with nobody else?
Yeah. Right.
Like, how is this possible?
Yeah.
It almost plays with your mind to where
Yeah.
you're like, this could be 500 years ago. Like, it just feels so desolate, you know?
Yeah, it happened a few times for us. One of the times we were actually heading out of the park and some bison ended up in the street.
The bison parade.
It was the bison parade. And after they passed us, the ranger was like right behind them. Here it is. And
Oh, yeah.
and so once they passed, the ranger's like, behind us is 3 to 4 miles of backed up traffic. So the people that were trying to come into the park,
Yep, they're just
there was
stuck.
4 miles of cars, no joke. We just drove, you know.
Yeah, and you'll see like right after this car goes by, so they're herding them out. That's the
Yeah,
park rangers
yeah,
there.
that's the rangers.
But then you'll see just the traffic line. Look at that.
So this is why, one of the reasons why to go so early is because you can avoid this and you can have seen, like we had seen so much and, you know, from like 5 to 11 a.m. and then some people are just entering the park and they're dealing with crowds, the heat, you know, all the different things that you have to deal with when you're out there. I do think we have to take a break.
Yeah, we do have to take a break.
It keeps flashing.
I always want.
They keep flashing at us.
You see how it is now? All right, so we got to take a break, but when we come back, we're going to be talking a little bit more about the national park system. Answering. If you got any questions, put them in the chat. We'll answer them.
Erik Kuna here with KelbyOne, and I'm here at Death Valley, California, at Death Valley National Park for a new class in our National Park series over at KelbyOne, where we're teaching you all about what you need to know to master photography at the national parks. And in this class, we're going to focus on Death Valley. I love Death Valley because it's such a diverse landscape. When you first look at it, you first get here, you might think, hey, it's not that different. But as you start to see the different environments, like here we're at the sand dunes, we're over at the salt flats, we're at overlooks, we're at badlands, we're at colorful artist palette. We've got all these different things that you're gonna see and be able to capture as a photographer and know how to make the most out of Death Valley. Join me at my new class on KelbyOne, Photographer's Guide to Death Valley.
Howdy folks, Moose Peterson here in what's been my playground for decades, Yosemite National Park. This is part of KelbyOne's National Park series, and we've got something very special for you. Well, whether you're a first-time visitor or you've been here many, many times, it's gonna be new every time. We're gonna start off at Tunnel View, a place that's gonna get you revved up. We're gonna take you up the trail to Yosemite Falls. And we're going to take you up personally, intimately with these places. Where do you go? Where do you stop? What cameras do you take? What lenses? How do you make it really simple and easy, not complex, so you take in all the places here, and that comes through in your photograph, your passion, your love for being outdoors, and of course, Yosemite. So come along. This is going to be a marvelous class for you to get inspired. It's going to be exclusively on KelbyOne.
This segment of The Grid is brought to you by B&H Photo, the professional source since 1973.
All right, we're back, and Jason doing his thing. There we go. I don't even know what that is. Richard, but now one thing, Richard has to leave here in a second, so I want to get through some questions.
Okay.
But before we get to that, Richard, you have a podcast that people can tune into, right?
I do have a podcast. In fact, that's why I have to get out here a little bit early, because I have an interview Yeah, it's called Beyond the Lens, and it's a photography-centric podcast, but I also talk about creativity and the arts and travel and wildlife conservation, anything that really interests me, but they're all connected to photography in a way, and a lot of photographers, obviously.
Awesome.
And yeah, that's it. And I publish about every 2 weeks, and usually I'm having a conversation with a top creator in the world of some type. And it's a lot of fun, and check it out if the spirit moves you.
All right, awesome. So check that out, Beyond the Lens. All right, so I got rapid fire questions here. Want to kind of get your opinion, with this slant of national parks. So,
I'll do my best.
What's one piece of gear you always bring to the national parks?
Okay, so the obvious answer would be some kind of camera gear, but I'm going to say a headlamp.
Okay.
A headlight.
That's a great one.
Because you want to get there early when it's still relatively dark and be able to set up your gear, and you need a light and you want your hands free. So I'm going to say a headlamp.
Oh, that's invaluable for the reasons you're talking about. And then at the end of the day, same thing. You're hiking out. I got to get out because I stayed for the good light. It starts getting dark.
Yep.
Better have a headlamp.
That's smart.
All right. What's one piece of gear you wish you left at home?
Boy, that's a tough one. I wish I left at home. Let's say my 85 millimeter prime, because I can. Why would I need that?
Why would I need that? Yeah, exactly.
And it's just too big and heavy. And why did I bring this? Okay, that's the best thing I can come up with.
That's good. That's good. That's good. All right. Favorite park to shoot?
Favorite park to shoot? If I'm going for wildlife, it's going to be Katmai National Park and Reserve in Alaska. If it's landscape, it's going to be either the Tetons or Glacier.
Awesome. There we go. Most overrated park, in your opinion?
Oh my gosh. I mean, they all have such good qualities, but if I were to say one was overrated, Grand Canyon. Sorry.
Oh, mine too.
Sorry.
Mine too.
Sorry.
No, that's mine on my list. I mean, it's awesome, but for photographers, it's kind of like, it's overrated.
Yeah. It's difficult for photographers.
It's overrated. That's the thing. It's not that it's not awesome.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. It's
Doesn't
awesome.
mean that you shouldn't go. You should still go.
It's just overrated. Yeah. All right. Underrated.
Underrated would be, I mentioned Death Valley already. Mm-hmm. Let's go with Olympic.
Okay, that's a good one. That's a good
Olympic
one.
National Park's underrated.
Are you sunrise or sunset?
Oh God, this is not even close. Sunrise.
Yes.
For all the reasons we mentioned earlier. Just most people do not get up for sunrise, but if there's a good sunset spot, it'll be busy. It'll probably be a lot of people there, tourists and photographers. But if you go at sunrise, more than likely it'll be either yourself or maybe a handful of others.
All right, you got to pick one. Wide or telephoto?
Well, I mean, those are like two different tools for different jobs.
Yep.
But if I had to leave one, if I was stuck, I would bring a telephoto because I've always had the opportunity to photograph wildlife.
All right. Then, favorite lens to take to the national parks?
Favorite lens? If I had to choose one that's a compromise for everything, would be 24 to 105, because I can always crop in if I have a wildlife opportunity. Can always do some stitching to make it wider if I need wider than 24. That would be like the jack of all trades type lens.
Yep, there you go. All right, you've been to a lot of national parks, but a park you haven't shot, but it's on your bucket list, the dream to shoot, like this your dream park to shoot.
I have a park in Alaska called the Gates of the Arctic National Park. Very, very difficult to get there, but there's polar bears, there's grizzly bears, there's wildlife beyond your imagination. There's not a lot of infrastructure there, so once you arrive, it's hard to get in and explore it. But I'm exploring some possibility of doing a rafting trip or maybe getting a guide to take me in. But Gates of the Arctic is on my list. It's one that I've not been to yet, so I'm going to say that or Kobuk Valley, two very similar, very remote Alaska parks.
Yeah, you're getting up to Alaska. Yeah, I love it. All right. Last question here. So you've got a new first-time national park photographer, somebody going to the national park first time. What's the one thing you would tell them?
Get up early. Do some research before you go, like we talked about. and obey all the park rules and regulations. You know, if there's regulations about approaching wildlife, make sure you remain within that minimum distance. Leave the park as well as you had it when you arrived. Don't trash it. Don't walk where you're not supposed to walk. Treat it with respect.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Richard. We appreciate you joining us.
Yep, thank you.
My maiden voyage on the grid.
Yeah,
I'm
there
excited.
you go. And
Thank you, guys.
We look forward to your class and can't wait to see it come out in here in a couple weeks. So,
Thank you much.
Thanks. Talk to you later. Bye. All right. Well, that was some great answers. I love.
Yeah, it really was.
I like
Yeah,
that.
everything that we've discussed, all the questions we are answering during our classes. Like all the stuff is covered in our classes. So if you guys watch our class, you can watch it and you'll see all this different locations, when to get up. You know,
That's what's so cool about this series.
What lenses to use, yeah.
That's what I love about this series is that what you're talking about is it's not just a class on that, but it's a class on all the little things that Richard was talking about at the end there.
Yeah.
Of like, this is why I choose this. And that's the thing is I know some of those questions are kind of hard because it's like, it's hard to, like that overrated park thing, like it is hard because I do think, I love Grand Canyon, but it's just one of those that everybody's like, put it up here, and it's kind of like, oh, there's so many that are like, so much like better that are underrated, you know?
Right. So wait, I want to do the speed rapid questions with you.
All right, well, we'll do those.
Okay.
Don't worry about it.
Okay.
So let's see if we got any questions here. So Zeppo7 is asking, is there any national parks that would be accessible for a disabled person? You guys were just at one, I thought.
Yeah, I mean,
I think.
I know there are several classes that I've been out on that there are, Zion had some places where you could get out that were wheelchair accessible. The Arches and Canyonlands have some too. And like Richard was saying, you can kind of.
Bryce is the same as far as if you're not going to go down into the canyon on the top if you're looking at Bryce.
Yeah. And even some things, because you're just driving along the road, it's just like like in Yellowstone when you're going through Lamar Valley, like you don't have to even get out of your car and you're going to see bison.
No, I shoot from the car most of the time with the telephoto lens. You just literally pull over in a little pull off. And my daughter and I will just be shooting from the car.
Yeah, I dare to say all the ones we've covered in our series is definitely accessible.
Yeah, we did pick parks that are popular but accessible. Like we don't want to,
easily accessible.
Like that's the whole thing. Is I can tell people like Big Bend National Parks, it's hard to get to, and it's probably not going to be on the top of people's lists. But there's a few others that I can think of. Like we talked about Arches. I actually think Yosemite, because most of the overlooks are like right there, like the famous overlooks. Like you just get out and you get off and everything's paved and everything's concrete or got a path. Badlands is the same way. You pull up and there's always flat paths that go on.
And
there's a lot of them.
One of the things that I did see a member actually comment too, and it's a good point, is Donald Hess says the NPS app is a great reference to have on hand for research and just getting around. And those maps will also tell you which paths are wheelchair accessible, and you can download those maps offline. So typically when you go into a park, you're going to lose cell phone reception. So it's always a good idea to download that map, have it available to look at, because you don't want to get lost or not know where to go because you don't have reception.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's a good point, because in some of these bigger parks, especially Yellowstone is one, Death Valley is another, you're not going to get signal.
Yeah, that's a good thing to bring up, because I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, like you weren't. And I remember telling like, hey, we need to offline our maps. And then you're like, yeah, we only get cell phone signal when we're at the hotel because they have a little tower there. And then the minute you leave that, it's like you got nothing.
And every hotel I've experienced, the internet is really poor.
Really poor.
Like it's so slow.
Really poor.
I can barely.
Yeah, it's nice. You're like out in the middle of nowhere.
That's why you have hot spots.
Yeah. Well, but that's the
No, I'm
problem
just
that he's
kidding.
saying. And like,
For the hotel,
it's just so hard. It's so hard with those. What else we got there, Christina?
And one was saying the Google Maps is another good resource that you can download things.
But I definitely agree with what you're saying. One of the underrated things is people don't download the National Park app. I think because a lot of people think, oh, app, government, it's going to be bad. It actually is. That's one of the best things we have. Like that National Park app is
Yeah, it's
very
nice.
good.
Yeah, and they even do like audio, like
Tours,
audio
yeah.
tours, so you can hear where you're at and like information on it. So yeah, it is really cool. I was gonna also bring up for gear that obviously we always think in terms of photography gear, but some of the other stuff that I've experienced was like just having the right shoes, you know, is so important. I had waterproof boots for this one. Good thing I did, because we were stepping in swamps and what Jason called the bison toilet. And
Yeah, you got to watch out for the patties.
you have to watch out for the patties. And like making sure you have sunscreen, hat, you know, raincoat. And I remember just having to layer so much, especially on this last trip, because it would be really cold in the morning.
Oh, that's good to-
and
yep.
then by the end of the day, I'm literally in a tank top because it's so hot. So just like having that type of stuff with you too, that way you can stay comfortable, and bring your water, because you're not going to be getting snacks in the middle of the park. So
That's a good point. Yeah.
you really need
Yep.
to make sure you have
Snacks,
water
water.
and snacks with you, just to be prepared.
The biggest temperature change was Death Valley. Remember when we went up?
Yes.
We're overlooking
Yes.
the Star Wars city?
Yeah. We were up at the Overlook.
Oh my
looking
gosh!
down
Like,
at
so
the-
I was
the
prepared all
Salt
day
flats.
until we got up there, and I actually had gloves on and everything, but it went through. It was bone chilling.
Really?
Yeah, because we were down at
I'm like,
at the floor. When we started there, it was about 70. It was the morning because we were out early. I think
Yeah.
it was 72 degrees down there. We got up there, it was almost freezing.
wow.
And windy.
Wow.
So like the whole crew, like all of us, we went to, all right, we'll do this, but it's not going to be that long. So that's maybe why that it was pretty brutal. Yeah, but you have to be prepared. It's a good point for layers and different weather. You know,
for sure.
That's what, because Yellowstone's one that will too. It'll throw you for a curve. Like, you know, I've been in June and it's snowing.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
so-
Yeah. And depending on how high up you are too, because
Yep.
there was snow up there even in
Yep.
June.
Yep.
It was funny. We saw some tourists doing the angels in the snow.
Yes.
Oh, we did. That's right. Someone is saying, Allison Tuck. Hi, Allison. She's saying, you told us that Milky Way was doable in Yellowstone, Eric, and we got some great shots with no people.
Yep, it's amazing. I'm telling you. That's the one thing. The dark side of the national parks is just as cool as the day side, you know, the light side.
Yes.
Right? I think a lot of people that, you know, that's what's so great about the national parks. A lot of them are open 24 hours. That you can go in and get these scenes. Like Yellowstone, for example, I've got a great shot where it's Old Faithful going off with the Milky Way behind it.
Nice.
That area and that shot, like earlier in the day, thousands of people there. You
Yes.
can't even walk.
Right.
But at night, it was us with 2 other people. Like
Wow.
there were 4 people in that whole area.
Yeah, a similar thing happened to us in the morning. It was just a few people out there, and then by the time we walked around and got some other shots nearby, when we started to come back, it was like just everybody was surrounded by people.
So I hope you're picking this up as a photographer. If we're photographers, the one thing we got to get, uncomfortable. We can't go when it's comfortable.
Yes.
Like that's the one thing. If you want great shots, they're not going to happen when the tour bus lets you off at 2:00 in the afternoon. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So my thing is like, why put all this effort into the gear and the travel and the money and all the stuff that you put into it to then show up at the wrong times?
Right.
And it's just, as a photographer, we got to realize that it's going to be uncomfortable to get those shots. It just is. And you'll see that when we do the critiques and we'll say, oh, I wonder what that shot looked like at sunrise. I wonder what that shot
Right.
looked like at sunset.
Yeah.
It's because in our mind we're thinking that's a beautiful scene in crappy light.
You know what? That also, I do see them telling us we got to take a break, but that's another kind of thing,
Welcome to my world.
a theme that I had seen too, working on the series is sometimes you also have to go back to a place. Sometimes you do have to like revisit a spot here and there because you just don't know what the conditions are going to be. The clouds are going to be different. The sky's going to look different. And so sometimes revisiting places is another part of that working hard to get that photo.
All right, and then Bill's asking which national sea are going to, and I will not be going out to California. Point Reyes, the national sea, it's beautiful. is close by, but I'll be on the East Coast. We're staying on the East Coast this year. This
Nice.
is the East Coast trip. I'm not thrilled about it because I love the West Coast.
Oh, I love the
but,
East Coast.
We'll make the most of it. So, we're heading out. We're over the Hatteras National Seashore, that area. So we'll be out there. So should be fun.
All right, well, let's take a break, and when we come
Yes.
back, we're going to give away prizes.
All righty, let's do it. There's Jason doing his thing.
Hey guys, I'm Karen Hutton and welcome to my class about Zion National Park. This park is absolutely gorgeous and it makes me so excited to be part of the greater National Park series that KelbyOne is doing. Zion National Park to me is really special. I've been here many times. Throughout this class you're going to see footage of me and scenery from other trips, because I really wanted to give you a full experience of the place over time and different conditions and so on and so forth. Zion is really a big, big park, and you're going to want a car. We'll talk about other ways of traveling through it. But just as an overview, I think of Zion in 4 sections. One is Kolob Canyons, there's Kolob Terrace, then there's the Scenic Canyon on the beginning, the east side, and then the actual east side on the farthest other side of the park. So buckle up, we're going to cover all the areas and some of the specialities that each one has to offer, some of the things to be careful about, to be prepared for. We're going to talk about gear, we're going to talk about all kinds of things. So come join me on my latest epic class on KelbyOne.com.
I'm pro landscape photographer Ian Plant, and right now I am standing here bathed in the glory of sunrise at Acadia National Park in Maine. What makes this park special is that it is a dynamic coastal environment. You are constantly seeing it change right before your eyes as the tides and the weather changes. And that allows you to make unique compositions that are all your own. You can go out there and be very creative as you explore the changes of this park unfolding before your very eyes. And in this class, I am going to teach you a variety of techniques to optimize your fall foliage and coastal photographs. And we'll talk about techniques that will allow you to get coastal images that stand out and get noticed. And come join me on an epic photo adventure in my latest class over at KelbyOne.com.
This segment of The Grid is brought to you by Platypod, the world's most compact tripod base.
He's back. There's Jason doing his thing. All right, so we're back. We're wrapping up this conversation on national parks. You guys have been seeing, like, we've been watching all these the trailers for the classes, and it's like, wow, yeah, I love that park, or oh, I love that. Like, we just saw Arcadia. I love Arcadia National Park. Like, this is another beautiful one. There's just so many of them. I mean, that's the unfortunate part, is there are so many of them. They're so beautiful. But that's what's great about it, is you can go to any of these, like Richard was talking about, and they're just beautiful. But one of the things that I just like to remind everybody about that is, as photographers, the one thing that we want to do is make sure we're respecting that. Mm-hmm. That's one of the things that it does get under my skin a little bit as a photographer when I see other photographers, doing stuff that's trashing the place.
Yeah, not being respectful.
Just not being respectful. So the one thing we want to do is make sure that we know before we go, can we go there? Can we not go there? There's certain parks, like for example, you talked about Badlands. What's cool about Badlands is it's open hike. So you can hike everywhere
Right.
in the Badlands. Like it's open hike, and the reason being is the Badlands is constantly eroding. A rainstorm comes, it changes the whole landscape. It just does. Where other places, it's like, well, no, if you step off and step on that moss might take 150 years to grow back.
Absolutely.
So you just being respectful
Which
to.
we saw a little bit of that Yellowstone.
Well,
Yeah,
Acadia
Yellowstone.
has that really
Yeah,
bad too.
Acadia. There's tons of parks.
Or I'm thinking the Arches. The Arches had.
Arches, yeah. So, but yeah, and again, just don't ruin it for other people. We want to be respectful, and just be an advocate for the national parks.
And same thing, I noticed like with working with Richard too, it's just the same thing goes with the wildlife. Like when you do find an animal and you're able to photograph them, it's like you have to also read their body language and just have a good understanding of when enough's enough, and then back off, you know, like don't just sit there and hang out. You gotta also respect the animals too.
Awesome. So we're gonna give away some prizes, but before we give away prizes, we have a travel photography conference coming up next month. So we got that coming up. You can go check that out over at KelbyOneLive.com. We've got that going, what is it, the 15th and 16th of next month, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and On1 keeps updating their tools. It's pretty awesome what you can do with them.
Yeah.
Yep. So the 15th and 16th of July is when that conference is happening. We'll have a pre-con the day before, and lots of fun instructors with good classes to check out.
All right. So who won?
You want to give away the prizes?
Oh.
Take it away, Jason.
All right, so Scott Kelby crushed the composition, goes to Dave Young. Congratulations. The landscape photography book, Claudia Baldessera.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Congratulations.
A little question mark at the end of that.
The night photography book, ebook copy goes to Natalie C. Jones.
Nice.
All right.
The Platypod handle goes to Eddie Morris. On1 No Noise goes to Donald Hess. And V-Flat goes to Chris Zack. If you will, to get these prizes, email gridprize@kelbyone.com and claim by this Friday, and we'll ship it out to you.
Congratulations to all the winners.
Hey, speaking of, if you go back to that night photography book. I got something, an announcement. So go back to that night photography book thing. So you see that picture on the cover, right?
Yeah.
So I took that when I was at an event in South Dakota that's run by a friend of the grid, Jay Gramman. So he runs this Black Hills photo shootout every year. And I got to be years ago the keynote speaker on there, but that image came out of that weekend that we were doing. And what I love about the event is it's 3 days of just shooting around the Black Hills, which Black Hills being where Mount Rushmore is, there's Wind Caves National Park, there's Custer State Park, there's Devil's Tower around the corner, there's the Badlands around the corner. It's just like, it's such a cool place. But if you go over to blackhillsphotoshootout.com, which I have it over here on my screen, so you go to blackhillsphotoshootout.com, you can go, that's September 19th, 20th, 21st of this year. And I'm actually going to be speaking at the keynote again.
Oh, nice.
And Rami's joining as well. So you got Rami, but there's all different sessions. What I love about this event is how it's so diverse of the style of pictures that you'll get to take, which let me go ahead and pull up a couple that I've got here. I should have planned this beforehand, but I didn't.
I like their logo too.
Oh, it's going to open up in Photoshop. Oops. Let me not do that. Cancel.
Cool. Yep.
But really cool. If you're just looking for an event where you can go and shoot for a few days, like here's like stuff that attendees are getting out of the conference. So that's over in the Black Hills.
Nice.
They have model shoots. Actually, that shot that you saw with the Milky Way, this was the shoot right before it that we had with
Sweet.
the Bear Butte in the background, and then we drove around to shoot the Milky Way. So again, just stuff like that.
Was that guy a model too?
Yep. Just
Okay.
a model. I got model shoots, everything kind of different. Here, you know, one time they did some fly fishing, stuff with horses, silhouettes, motorcycles, because I think this was at Sturgis. So again, just really cool stuff.
Nice. Well, that's exciting.
Yep. So check it out over at blackhillsphotoshootout.com. And yeah, it's just so much fun. And actually, Kendra's saying the Black Hills Photo Shootout is so much fun. Yeah, it's just a really good weekend if you're just looking to get away, do some shooting. And then, like I said, we'll be there. And actually, we will be going out the night of the keynote to that same barn. This is a private barn. It's not, that's why it's not shot to death. But we're going to be going out to that same barn and doing some Milky Way photography out there.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, so it should be cool. So, yeah, check it out. All right. What else do we have?
Well, how about we do just a quick rapid fire with you?
All right.
Is that okay?
Let's do it. Well,
Because I know you've just traveled a lot, and
Yep.
it'd be interesting to hear what you have to say.
all right.
All right, so what's your favorite park to shoot?
Favorite park to shoot? I think it's got it's cliche, but I do love Yellowstone, but I also love Yosemite. They're totally different. But those are the favorite park. You know what? It's a hard question because those are my favorite parks to shoot, but it's also the parks that, like, I feel like when I shoot, I have the hardest time to get original shots because, again, it is so overshot. You know, that's where I do, like, I do have other parks, but those are kind of my favorite, I think, to shoot.
Okay, you already did kind of say that Grand Canyon is the most overrated
Yes,
park.
I could throw another one.
Okay,
but,
so.
What's another overrated one? I don't know. Let's think. Overrated. This is hard. I don't know. I'm gonna go with Grand Canyon still.
Okay.
Yes.
Underrated.
Underrated. Well, I kind of said mine. I think Big Bend National Park is underrated.
Okay.
But I think it's just hard to get to.
Okay, how about for you, sunrise or sunset?
I'm with Richard. I'm a sunrise person for the same reasons. It's like sunrise is the time when we all don't want to go, but we should go, especially with the national parks. Like, I totally agree with like there's this philosophy again in maybe cityscapes and all that stuff. Like, it's harder to shoot in the morning because you have to get there before sunrise, way before sunrise when it's dark.
Yeah.
I think that's the hardest thing with sunrise is when we say sunrise, what we really mean is
Before.
twilight or dawn.
Yes.
You know, so you got to be out in the dark, get to the spot in the dark, wait for the light, and then what happens is the light just gets worse and worse and worse.
Yep.
Rather than getting better and better and better, which is what happens at sunset.
Right.
But for the national parks, sunrise or the time before sunrise is what I really say. It's the best time to shoot because it's where you get the isolation, where you get the desolation, where you get looking like it's, you never have to deal with tourists and buses, and you never have to deal with anything.
Right.
Like in the morning, you're there by yourself.
Yeah, there's
Especially in the
something
summer.
peaceful about it.
Yeah.
And it is like a lot to have to wake up.
Yeah.
But then I feel like every time you go out and then you experience it, then you feel like, oh, it was so worth it. So you'll never regret it.
Yep.
Okay, wide or telephoto?
I tend to go wide. I'm more of a landscape photographer. But I'm with Richard. It's a hard one. I mean, but I like wide.
Okay. What's a park that you haven't shot yet but dream of?
It's going to be Alaska Park, Denali. So
Yeah.
I would love to go up to that area. I'd just go up to it. I haven't been out to Alaska that much, so
Yeah.
I'd love to do that. So.
And then what is one thing that you would tell a first-time national park photographer?
Well, my thing that I tell them is get uncomfortable. Get uncomfortable. Your best times are going to be going early. Your best times are going to be staying late. And it means that you're not going to be able to do all the touristy things, right? Unfortunately, that's just part of it. Now, that's the hardest thing. I just tell you, your success when you come home with your pictures is going to be greater if you got uncomfortable.
Yeah.
If you just went and did the comfortable thing, you're always going to wonder, oh yeah, that was awesome, but what would that shot look like? Like, for example, in the Tetons, like the alpine glow that you get in the morning is so much better than anything you're going to get anytime after that, right?
Yep.
So why not get there for it?
Right.
Because that's when you're going to get the magic.
Yep.
So.
One thing too I want to point out is I think it's also important to step back and just absorb and like look with your own eyes too.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
sometimes you get caught up with shooting so much that you forget to just step back and actually like appreciate what's in front of you.
Absolutely. That's why I do love at certain times running like a time lapse.
Yeah.
Where I can just run a time lapse and then kind of absorb while the time lapse is going. You know,
Yeah.
and just that way I figure I'm shooting and I'm not shooting. If that makes sense.
Yep.
Well, cool.
That was a fun show.
Yeah, that was fun. I hope you check out the National Park series. We're developing a few more and then rounding that out into a nice offering where you can go and experience these national parks, be able to see where to go, what to shoot, what time to shoot, all that good stuff over on KelbyOne. So I hope you get to check it out. And we got any other comments? No, I think we're all good here.
Yep.
James saying Arcadia makes me think of the lobster dinner I had there. Yeah, definitely. Right?
Lobster.
And Andrew saying I love the idea of the National Parks series. I look forward to using these kind of videos resources.
You know, we have some members that are actually planning trips based on this, and they're like coming together and they're going out and doing trips. They'll watch the classes and then go to some of these locations. So that's so fun
That's
to
what
see.
they're for.
We want to see your pictures. Please share and tag us.
Yes, definitely. And then Dean saying after a morning photo session, I go back to the room, Kevin, for early lunch and then edit and then nap before sunset session or night session with that. That's exactly it. That's it. You can just, you kind of go in the morning. And that's what you go in the morning. We go out to breakfast is usually the thing. Then you take a break during the day, and then you go to early dinner, and then go out at night. Especially in the summer because the sun sets so late.
Yes.
You know, which you guys probably experience over there. So.
But some of the places we had to go were also like 2 hours away.
Yes.
So we would also just grab some sandwiches or something beforehand and just have it in the car with you. So that way, if you do end up coming back really late at night, you're not going to find places open for dinner. So.
Awesome. Well, that's the show for today. If you're a VIP member, we'll see you here on the podcast in just a second. And if not, check us out over at KelbyOne.com, and we'll see you guys next week. Scott will be back, and I'll be tuning in from the road, but I'll be here. So, see
Bye,
you guys.
everyone.
See you guys.